Been on Trek, Season 2, Episode 10, The Galileo 7, Season 1, Episode 16. Originally aired on 1/5/67. I am Admiral Looks Good in Red with my two captains, James T. Palpatine, not Jake, and Captain Mark A. Daystrom.
It's good to be back.
Who is great sometimes. Welcome back, gentlemen. And, of course, doing all the work in the background, telling us what to do, Lieutenant Commander Audio Arthur.
I got a question, Admiral.
Of course you do.
Was the red panties yours too?
Everything red is mine. Everything red is mine.
Just wanted to make sure.
But those are shorts.
Was she a yeoman or an ensign?
Yeoman.
Yeoman Mears?
Roman Mears.
Yeah.
The ooh-wee of the week.
Ooey of the week.
Yep. Undisputed. Nobody will argue the point.
Yes.
Although Uhura was looking particularly
Yes.
fantastic this time.
Yes.
But she's in red as well.
Everything good is in red.
Okay.
Everything good is in red.
Okay, Admiral.
Unless, of course, you're sporting a Men on Trek
t-shirt in black. But everything good on that t-shirt is in red as well.
All right.
Are we ready, gentlemen?
Yes.
Shots fired already.
Galileo 7.
Galileo 7.
Great episode.
Enterprise on its way to Marcus 3 to deliver vital medicines to curb a plague on a place called New Paris.
Yeah.
Yep, a plague. But a standing order to investigate stellar phenomenon has them making a small diversion to a place called Morisaki 312 to investigate a quasar that is giving off electromagnetic disturbances.
Wow. Sounds like a Wikipedia page. No. What's the Star Trek page? Memory Alpha.
Memory Alpha.
Yeah.
You would think
My memory
the
is pretty
standing
good.
order would be sidelined for
the plague.
for the plague.
Well, there was a reason for it. Kirk had a 5-day window and only needed 3 days to get to Marcus 3, so he figured he had enough time to do a quick run by the quasar. I'm in agreement with you. Probably not the wisest decision, especially as we get into this episode, but
Well, there's more than just the time it takes them to get to him. Then it was a drop off. They had so much time to get to the location that the medicine was going to be passed off to another group or another ship. So they had a 3-day to get there and another 5-day wait, something like that.
No. It was 3 days to get there because that's their part of the trip. The transfer is going to happen there.
Right. And then
Don't you think
And then-
you should,
and then they're done.
when you establish a colony, that you should have some sort of medical industry to create a
maybe,
I don't want to say the V word because I don't want to get banned, but the treatment for
necessary medications.
yeah, don't you think this necessary medication should be?
maybe they did. They just didn't have enough facility to
Probably,
mass produce.
I like that.
Probably a matter of production.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm
probably
good
a
with
matter of
that then.
production.
Mass production.
Yeah,
You know,
isn't enough.
you can only crank out so much aspirin in one spot,
Yep.
right?
Well, let's move past that so we don't
Yeah,
get.
let's get past that. So,
Crux of the episode.
not really. It's more of a plot
the-
device.
The episode is about leadership.
Yes.
Leadership.
Yes.
It's about leadership
is about-
and logic.
Yes.
And whether or not Mr. Spock is capable of commanding the Galileo 7.
It is the logic versus the instincts of man.
That's right.
Yes.
The
That's
emotions.
That's true. And we had another episode like that, the amoeba.
We haven't got there yet.
We haven't done the amoeba.
I
yet.
know. We
Immunity
haven't done
factor.
that, but the immunity factor
Immunity
is another
factor.
episode dealing with logic versus human instinct.
Very briefly in that episode.
Yeah.
Very briefly. But this is early in the show, season 1, episode 16, and there's some stuff that's not established. The sensors don't seem to be as incredible as they later become. So, to investigate the quasar, our fearless captain launches the Galileo shuttlecraft with 7 crew. Spock in command.
With a mixture of crew that seems questionable.
It checks all the boxes.
You put your chief engineer, your chief medical officer, and your chief science officer in a box.
Yeah, that's the problem. The crew complement an engineer or science officer. That's fantastic. Yeah,
Right.
But the fact that your 3 senior officers are all on this one shuttlecraft.
No, I wouldn't have sent my doctor down there.
No,
and I wouldn't have sent my chief engineer.
You'd send somebody from McCoy's staff. You'd send somebody from engineering. You'd send. Right. I can't even see Spock being on this mission.
I'm not even letting Scotty leave engineering. Scotty's going to eat down there. I'm going to put a bunk down there. He's not going anywhere. He's certainly not getting off the ship.
So what we must look at, and we know it's a TV show. We know the actors.
And you have to send the main characters.
Have to have screen time.
Of course.
But what would really happen as Captain...
you don't know who that is?
Yeah, I know exactly who it is. I just wanted to make sure he's not Jake.
I don't see any sunglasses.
So what would really happen is you would get some secondary officer of the science division, secondary officer of engineering, and some medic from somewhere, from McCoy's staff somewhere.
It'd be a boat full of lieutenants and ensigns.
You would have...
Yeah, because Bulma seems like he's capable enough. Like Bulma should have been... Bulma should have been in command.
Well, no, not in command, but
why not? He would be the ranking science guy, and that's what Spock was.
He was a science guy, and
you had 2 non-red shirts.
Latimer appeared to be the pilot. That seemed to be his primary function.
Oh, okay, I'm gonna go with that. He should be there.
And Gaetano, you never find out what Gaetano's specialty was.
Security.
No,
he wasn't wearing a red shirt.
He's not
security.
That's true.
You
don't find out what Gaetano's role would have been in the survey.
He came off as security to me.
He was much more action oriented than the others. That's for sure. For sure.
He wanted to phaser down some beasties.
And I'm not mad at him for that. I was gonna gratis him a red shirt.
But he didn't, and we saw a little bit of Galloway in here. We'll talk about that when the time comes. Yeah. But the red shirts never really talked back, and Gaetano had a mouth on him.
Yeah, he had a lot of opinions.
A mouth on him
about what should be happening.
There was a lot of fresh ones that could have been delivered on this episode.
He ain't letting the man tell him what to do.
That's Bowman. But so they launched the Galileo 7 shuttlecraft to do this survey, which in the context of how they handle the show later, actually, when you think about it, seems a little strange. You don't see them using shuttlecrafts like that, but it's early in the series, and they have transporters now. Because they had transporters from the beginning. There was a point in the series where they hadn't thought up the shuttlecrafts yet, and the transporter was the only way to go to a planet.
Well, this is episode what?
16. They've come up with the shuttlecraft.
By the 16th episode, the shuttlecraft is now it
exists.
Stable of the Enterprise. And
is it though, or is this the first time we see a shuttlecraft? That's interesting. We got to go back and check that out.
I think it's the first. It's the first time I remember seeing one.
Is it the first episode we see a shuttlecraft? I think it might be. That's why they broke them. That's why they broke them out.
I don't know.
They were rare. I remember through the episodes. I don't know why, but shuttles were a rare thing. You didn't see those very often.
Not very much. They get stolen periodically.
Well, wait a second. There was one in the Doomsday
Machine. Yeah.
Was that season 1?
No.
Okay. Yeah.
No, it is not season 2, if I remember correctly.
Could be.
So in addition to 3 senior officers who shouldn't be on the shuttle, you have Science Officer Boma, Yeoman Mears, I believe Lieutenant Latimer, and Lieutenant Gaetano.
Okay.
And, I immediately got that horror movie vibe. It's like, yeah, Scotty, McCoy, Spock, and 4 people I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, the confusion was that they weren't wearing red shirts.
Yeah.
Because Gaetano should have definitely had a red shirt.
Yeah.
But
would you have a security guy on a trip where you're not even really planning on landing on a planet?
I would, just because I don't know who's going to nut out. You should always have a muscle boy there to
7 seats,
wrestle somebody down.
7 seats on the flying minivan, and you're gonna.
Hey, Spock could have used a pretty loyal Galloway. I would have taken Galloway, and as soon as Bowman was in my face, I'd be like, "Take care of my light work."
Galloway, Galloway.
Take Gaetano out and PT him until he can't breathe.
Galloway, demonstrate jujitsu on Mr. Bowman.
That's right. So
they head out, and again, kind of the strange choice. I mean, the whole point of this is the quasar, the Murasaki 312 quasar is giving off mad electromagnetic interference. So immediately, the Enterprise's sensors are offline. Kirk even has a line where the whole sector is ionized.
Right.
He says 4 entire solar systems have electromagnetic interference, and all their sensors are going to be useless. Communications are not good. I almost, since they know this so quickly, I was almost kind of like, "You gonna send a shuttlecraft out into this?" I mean, it just creates a situation where you're like, you can lose these guys as soon as they get out of sight.
I was okay with it, I mean, as a kid, and I'm kind of okay with it now. Mm-hmm. I almost think of it like, the little boats they sent out ahead of the whaling ship, There's always like...
Pilot boat?
Yeah, there's always a pilot boat that kind of goes out, and for anything, I don't know really if the Galileo's mission was to...
seemed like a survey mission.
Well, I almost felt that they were out in front to monitor the conditions, because it was so hard to do that, to make sure that things would be safe for the Enterprise. I don't know. That's the way I always got it.
I took it to be them going out to collect the data more so than to do a data sweep and collect data more so than the Enterprise, because that's just how it came off. But you're right. I mean, if the Enterprise's sensors aren't working, what could they have really done from the shuttlecraft?
Right. So it's almost like they're in a deep, they're in a fog, and you sent out a boat ahead of you to just make sure that, the conditions, and basically that's what happened. The quadrant gets ionized, and I don't know, they geometrically accelerate into the center of the, is it Murasaki?
Murasaki 312.
Murasaki 312, which when I was a kid, I thought that was a cool name.
Yeah. I was just looking through the records and trying to see if there was an episode that had another shuttlecraft.
Well, Lieutenant Commander Audio Arthur has confirmed that the first appearance of the Galileo was this episode. So,
okay.
Very good, Lieutenant Commander.
Yeah, real time.
You'll have your own ship one day.
Absolutely.
You can have Captain Daystrom's. he's not.
Well, what viewers don't know is that not only did Kirk bring his ships back after his 5-year mission, but Captain Daystrom brought his ship back as well.
Did he?
He did.
Where's yours?
Didn't make it.
So we have, which comes down to be a first, I won't say Spock episode, but a leadership episode.
This is definitely a Spock episode, though.
Wherein
sure.
he is in command, and the situations don't go according to plan, because as soon as they get free from the Enterprise, and get a little bit out there, the magnetic field created by the quasar has blew out practically all their instruments.
Yeah, it overpowers the systems of the shuttlecraft immediately.
Right.
And they are lost, and the Enterprise can't track them because of the ionized atmosphere.
Right.
So it's a bad situation. And then you have the crux of the necessity of getting the medical supplies to where they're supposed to be.
To Marcus 3.
What's the High Commissioner's name in here?
Ferris.
I'm just wondering if people cosplay him. Like High Commissioner Ferris. You'd walk around the convention and just like...
Be a jerk.
Just be a jerk. Just walk up to people and you're running out of time.
You're running out of time.
Well, the High Commissioner's responsibility is
to get the medicine to New Paris.
Is to deal with the
once again, Roddenberry's total aversion for authority, and the guy could have just been wearing a Desilu studio head name tag, I think, at that point.
Oh my goodness. This is where you need a captain's ready room.
In his blue superhero suit.
This is where you need a captain's ready room for this guy, instead of barking at the captain across the bridge.
Yeah, I would have totally thrown him off my bridge.
Oh, yeah.
He would not have been allowed.
He's sitting there by Uhura. He's got a smirk on his face. Like,
yeah, that looked...
Yeah, but I think that leads back us to what we always talk about, is that there's this sort of like... There's this fascist nature to the Federation, and he is the High Commissioner.
I don't know if it's so much a fascist feel to the Federation as there are fascist people within the Federation. Their hierarchy lends itself to those who push their.
Well, they always refer in an Orwellian way to the authority.
Yeah.
And there's always a book and a rule, and they point it out. And he's like, if I need to remind you, Captain, you know what I'm saying?
It's the
like
regulations.
Yeah, and if you don't follow the regulations, you know what happens.
But see, I don't think that so much of that is fascism. It's good that they have regulations, because this guy just can't come up and say, I'm in charge, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. You are in charge when, according to the regulations, that you have the right to take charge. You just can't come up and go, I'm an admiral, I'm in charge. Yeah. It doesn't fly. Yeah. Regulations state that the captain's in charge until certain boxes are checked. Now, the necessity of getting the remedy to the people in plight, the medicine to the people in plight, takes precedent. And I get the guy's situation. I've got a planet full of people, and you're worrying about seven people.
Right. It makes sense.
So
Ferris is just a jerk.
I guess
he's not a jerk for the situation. He's 100% right. It's the way he goes about it. From the very beginning, he's on Kirk's ship, in Kirk's face, like, remember, I have authority here. Don't mess with me. Way before it's even necessary.
Right.
That's true.
Yeah.
It's an unnecessary statement.
The way he wields his authority.
I remember was it Robert Fox?
Yes.
He's another Robert Fox.
That's what I'm saying. If you're these commissioners, and you come out of Starfleet, you're like, it's almost like they hate the military.
Yeah, they're
catching a ride, and they're gonna.
And when they get a chance to boss them around,
yeah.
It'd be like having a senator on your aircraft carrier.
Yeah, that's a good way.
Be terrible.
Yeah, but he just because you're a senator, you're on an aircraft carrier, you're not going to supersede the flight commander. You're not going to supersede the strike force commander. You're just a senator on the ship. Now you can complain about.
They make some trouble.
Yeah. Oh, I can give you a bad report in your career and you won't be promoted.
Yeah.
But beyond that, you're not going to tell me what to do with the ship.
Yeah. So the shuttlecraft immediately crash lands on a planet.
You think I was thinking about that. Is it a crash landing, or is it like a controlled
landing?
Yeah.
Well, they land. Yeah. They don't crash per se. They land.
It's a hard controlled.
It's a hard landing. Yeah, I like that.
Hard landing.
Yeah.
Everybody's on their butts.
Because it's strange. It's weird.
A light crash.
I define a crash landing in that you can't recover from it.
Right. The ship can't be used afterwards.
Right.
That's the way I look at a crash as well, Admiral.
Well,
I think you need to redo what you think a crash is.
Did you see?
A crash means the vehicle can no longer be used.
Did you see?
This is a controlled landing.
Did you see
but controlled.
Did you see what the inside of that ship looked like?
I don't care. You can still get off the ground, right? After Scotty put some glue and some tape on it.
The dashboard fell off.
I wondered if they called the doctor from Gilligan's Island to help glue it back together. But
the dashboard fell off.
It was cheap plastic.
If it had a steering wheel, it would have been in Spock's lap.
And Bowman, this is the first episode I remember seeing of blood. So Boma had a bloody nose.
Yeah, he had a busted nose.
And then something else happens later.
Those 7 high back chairs had no seatbelts. Seatbelts could have been a good thing.
Seatbelts should have been a good thing.
Would have been a good thing. Would have been a good thing.
At least these chairs are actually bolted to the ground.
This is true. This is true.
Other shuttle episodes.
Then again,
where the seats didn't even look like they were.
Yeah, it looked like somebody rolled a bowling ball down through. The shuttles are very basic. I mean, this is a space minivan.
I like the shuttles. I still do. I don't know why.
I like them, but they're very basic. They're very bare bones.
I'm not a fan of the Star Trek shuttle design at all. At all.
No, why not?
No, they look. I mean, as a kid, they were great. You think about it, and you're in a ship and you pretend. But when you look at it, it's like it's as cheesy as cheesy can be.
I didn't find it cheesy. I just found it very sparse, which it probably should be. Just found it very sparse.
The interior is too sealed. I mean, that's just
it's a spaceship.
Roll on. What I mean is, it finished. Put it that way. The interior is too finished, other than some other science fiction projects or products where you look and you're inside the ship and you see conduits and you might see some wires it's so finished, it's so clean.
I honestly think that's more realistic. How much wiring's hanging out in your car?
That's my car.
It's the same thing.
Think so?
How much exposed equipment?
So if you sit down,
how much exposed?
I would say bus. I'd think of it as like a bus.
Yeah, but how much?
So if you sit in a C-130 in the back, everything's perfectly cleaned and
no, absolutely not.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
So if you were in the back, if you're in the cargo part of a C-130 and it was shipping crews and material, whatever, it ain't perfectly sealed off like a Boeing 747.
Yeah, but
everything's not perfectly tucked away.
Shuttlecraft's a little bit of a different animal, though.
Okay.
But in the remakes, there's a couple of shots where the shuttlecraft have like those plastic
curtains,
thermal barriers that you see at Costco. You know, when you go into
the factory finish.
I didn't get that.
That wasn't cool either.
I didn't get that.
That was too much in the other direction.
Too much in the other direction.
It's like, what's this thing run on? Transistors?
As a kid, I loved it. I loved the shuttlecraft, but as I've gotten older,
it's no Jupiter 2. Let's not get crazy.
Yeah.
It's no Jupiter 2.
Oh, look at you.
Zoom
in on Captain Daystrom and his Jupiter love. And his Jupiter love.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm sorry.
Zoom in on Daystrom and his Jupiter love.
But they have a hard landing and everybody's shucking up and someone's got a bloody nose and another ensign is holding his hand.
Yeah, there's people have been bounced off the bolted down chairs.
Bounced off the bolted down chairs that should have had seat belts.
Yeoman Mears is on the floor.
I don't think seat belts existed in cars in that day.
Essentially,
1960. I don't think
they weren't.
Seat
they
belts.
certainly weren't required.
I remember just whenever we got a car and they were always used, the first thing we did is we tucked the seat belts down
into the seat because nobody was going to use them.
Absolutely, just shoved it all the way down in there.
When did seat belts go into effect? Anybody know?
Early
as
70s.
As far as being in a car, period.
That's what I'm talking about.
It's when they put the annoying chime on there, because I remember my dad getting a car and him having to try to figure out how he could fasten the seatbelt without wearing it so that the beeping would stop.
Yeah, but he's just talking about like when did they have seatbelts in a car at all? Which is probably much further back. I'm guessing 40s, maybe.
Let's see.
Maybe
1968.
Seatbelts?
1950. Engineered Volvo design of 3-point seatbelt system. These seatbelts became mandatory in 1968.
Wow.
Mandatory equipment in the car.
Right, but it wasn't a law to wear them, I think.
Until the 80s.
1985,
according to Lieutenant Commander.
1968 is when they went into the cars. What is the date on this episode?
67.
67.
No seatbelts.
Cars didn't have seatbelts. Your shuttle ain't gonna have seatbelts either.
Nobody's thinking about seatbelts.
Nobody's thinking of it.
But military stuff had harnesses and whatnot. You would think somebody.
But this is we're talking about the future in space with gravity plating on the floors.
Not enough.
Well,
not enough when you get that hard bounce. But
every show you see now, whether they got gravity plating or not, when they start to get racked around, the seatbelts. Remember the Star Trek the movie, the captain's chair,
automated harness. Yeah, automated harness. Yeah. So
interesting.
But so they do a hard landing on a place we find out is called Taurus 2.
That's correct, a hard landing.
Hard landing. See, I'm flexible. I can change.
Just say Daystrom's right.
Nah, I don't think I'll do that. But and of course, as soon as our heroes are lost, the Enterprise figures out they already know sensors aren't working. Uhura says communications are completely offline. And you find out the transporters are not working. Yep. So retrieving them, even if you can find them, is impossible.
And
Kirk says, finding a needle in a haystack would be child's play.
And I recognize looking at Kirk's or William Shatner's face, Sir William Shatner's face at this time. He really, the emotional look was like, man, this is going to be problematic.
Yeah. He delivers the concern very well.
Yeah, he didn't care about Scotty. He didn't care about McCoy. He didn't care about Spock. He cared about the ooey of the week that was on the ship.
You think so? You think his thoughts were too
I think he was thinking about. He was like, "Is this a nuclear piles?" switch left open kind of thing.
Is this it for me?
I got to save the ooey.
I think he was. There was a part of it for me where he was like, "I got a high commissioner here. I got this crew, and
I got a ship full of medicine I got to deliver.
And I kind of maybe didn't do this well. I think he was. At least that's what I got from Sir Williams.
The commissioner says something like that later on in the episode.
But no, back to Ferris is a jerk. As soon as it happened, Ferris is already on him talking about we shouldn't even do it.
Right.
As soon as this happens, Ferris is like, see, I told you, let's go.
Yeah.
You lost 7 guys, let's go.
Ferris is made out to be the heavy. He's the guy that put pressure on to give the scenario or give the episode more gravitas, more pressure.
He does enjoy it because they do some close-ups where he's got that little smirk. You just want to.
I know they could have been done without it.
And the clip where he's leaning on Uhura's counsel and Uhura's looking all uncomfortable.
Oh yeah.
That's a total let's go to HR kind of situation. He's just sitting there glaring at her.
No, he wasn't looking at her. He was boring holes in the back of Kirk's head.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's all in Uhura's space, man.
I don't know. He might have swung the other way. I don't think he even looked at Uhura.
He did have little capelets.
Yeah, he was burning a hole in Sir Williams.
He looked like a superhero. I mean, he did.
Man, he was like Uhura didn't exist.
I really like that outfit. I'm telling you, somebody should cosplay that.
He should have came off the turbo lift and landed on one knee.
I mean, he looked like a superhero. He should at least look to Uhura's way once in a while and give acknowledgement to the beauty on the bridge. But he's burning a hole in
You know what I would add to that? I'd add to that high
Superman I-beams, man.
I'd add to that high commissioner outfit. He's got the little capelets behind his arms.
A full cape?
Yeah, I'd have like one of those gold Jedi like ringlet headbands that I'd add to that outfit. That's the only thing that was missing.
You want to be the first guy to get beat up at a con, right?
Captain Palpatine wants to know why nobody's cosplaying the jerk.
The jerk commissioner of space. Yeah,
it was a nice outfit though. I have
Wasn't
to admit.
it?
It was a nice outfit.
And then he
ridiculous.
had like a little boa or something. He had like this little
it crossed and came down.
Yeah, but he had like this multicolored undershirt on there and little tiny lapels that were kind of.
See, Fox just looked like he was wearing a suit. This guy, he went on.
He was a high commissioner.
All this guy needed was an ascot. He was good to go.
Yeah, he was all.
He had an ascot. That was a little ascot. He needed a walking stick.
He needed to be punched in the face.
He could tap it on Kirk's head. He'd be like, "Hey, boy, I'm a high commissioner."
He needed to be punched in the face, is what he needed.
Man, that dude was. He was pushing.
I wanted to go back to the early episodes where you got the 2 bully boys hanging out by the turbo lift, and Kirk's just like,
where were those guys?
Kirk's just like, they only actually show up on Red Alert. Actually,
really? Okay.
Yeah, they man that on Red Alert. So. It's the worst case scenario. The shuttlecraft's immediately lost. The Enterprise has no effective way to look for it. Because going back into the byplay, they literally tell you they're reduced to visually looking for this shuttle in a solar system.
Well, it was multiple solar systems.
Well,
and Uhura
narrows it
down to one planet that could
support
sustain life.
Right.
And just so happened they luckily crashed on that planet.
I always got that, out of the corner of his eye, Spock probably saw it on the display, and
they found it and went there. Yeah. Once they start having problems, it's like, well, what do we do? Right. There's one planet we can go to.
Yeah.
Assuming they had that much information. Mm. So they get there, and you find out the planet has a thin atmosphere, but it's breathable. And they go about fixing the ship, and Spock sends Latimer and Gaetano out to look around.
Yeah, but the first thing Spock says, check the atmosphere, and another series, not even series, another movie.
Galaxy Quest.
Another movie, I try not to say it, but Galaxy Quest come to mind where they open the shit, the guy goes, guy sucks in, he goes, is there air out there? You don't know.
Guy, crewman guy, right? Yeah.
Spock checks first, he goes, man, check the atmosphere quality. And McCoy goes, it's pretty good, but you ain't running no marathons, buddy.
Mm-hmm. Don't exert yourself.
Get out there and you can do a little. But,
Did Did the way the crew members behaved later in the episode reflect the thin atmosphere? Do you think they kept that into account during? It
would have been nice if they would have stated that a little bit more. You understood. Yeah, no, you understood that they were afraid.
Yeah, because discipline broke down awfully quick.
Yeah.
I don't know if discipline broke down because they never really rebelled, but
discipline broke down. Mm-hmm. Everybody was way too loose with the mouth.
Yeah, that's true. They were loose with the mouth, but
and that's Kirk's fault. That's Kirk's fault. Because if people don't respect your first officer at a level that they respect you, then that's because that he wasn't either demonstrating it or giving him enough. Because as soon as Spock started to make some calls, you got all these guys going.
First you started off with the emotional brother, and he was. I thought he was a little bit too emotional.
But that's what I'm getting at. Bowman's a lieutenant, and he's on a shuttle with the commander, the second in command of the whole ship, and obviously he doesn't know Spock. So wherever Bowman works is nowhere near where Spock goes.
No, I think he knows Spock,
but he doesn't know him like McCoy and Scotty know him. It's clear he hasn't interacted with Spock like that because he has no respect for Spock.
Well, he seems a bit prejudiced.
He's mad disrespectful.
It seems more that he's prejudiced
against the Vulcan,
towards the Vulcan mindset.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But he feels completely free off the cuff just to be like, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. He's just vocally like, this guy doesn't know what he's doing.
Well, there's no emotion. There's no emotion, no button to push on Spock.
That's not the point.
Well, and the other thing is that McCoy is hearing some of this and not checking him. He does later on in the episode when Bowman crosses a big line. And then him and Scotty check him. But they should have been checking him from day one.
It's not that Spock is not going to respond, so it's okay that Bowman says it. It's not okay because a stinking lieutenant doesn't get to talk to a commander like that.
Once again, we have to build drama.
Yeah.
We have to build drama, so someone has to be out of character.
It's a great story and great dialogue.
For drama to be built.
Yeah.
Bowman is that character necessary to build drama.
Bowman would have got the pinch, running his mouth too much. He'd have got the...
They got to build it. They got to build drama somehow. And
early on they established...
Bowman's never going to get his ship, so...
Yeah. Early on, they establish, they raise the stakes, and they say, look, we think we can fix this, but we're going to have to get rid of 500 pounds.
Yep.
And Spock says, well, that's the weight of 3 grown men.
Somebody says 3 grown people.
Now, they never talked about leaving Mears behind.
Yeah, she was never on the table.
She was never on the table.
No, you got to bring the Captain's Ooey back.
How is she a Captain's Ooey?
She's a yeoman.
I designated. She's a yeoman. She
was on the bridge.
She's your Ooey captain.
No, that's Kirk's Ooey.
She don't even know Kirk.
How do you know? They were sure trying to keep her alive, weren't they? She's a yeoman.
And at the end of it, she was on the bridge.
She's on the bridge.
Yeah, for the happy moment. Oh
yeah, come on, hit the music. So was definitely necessary.
There's the romance.
She was necessary.
Well,
there it is.
So if anybody come back, I got to bring the yeoman back with me.
It's getting hot in here. It's getting hot. I should probably take this uniform off.
No, stop it. You're going too far.
Before I die.
So you done broke the control panel.
So they are arguing.
Captain James T. Palpatine reads audiobooks you're not old enough to listen to.
So first, before he starts to get hot, an issue happens. The 2 officers go off to check the area.
Latimer and Gaetano go off to check the area.
And one of them lickety split
gets ventilated.
well,
gets ventilated.
Latimer breaks all the tactical rules. He goes to the high ground
and he stands up.
And he stands up and silhouettes himself, and he catches a telephone pole.
Man, I remember as a kid seeing the size of that spear, and I was like, "Whoa!"
He catches a telephone pole.
Man, that had to hurt.
You can run some wires across that and have electricity.
Oh
and
my
he did one of those
God.
great a Western type. When a guy gets shot in the back, he's like, "Yeah!" And he goes
and falls 30 feet with a telephone pole in his back.
My God. I mean, like I said, as a kid, I remember that. I'm like, ooh, this is not going to be nice.
Something with that amount of mass and the way that he should have
just went through him.
It should have went through him.
It should have been halfway through him when he fell off the cliff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bad.
Yeah.
You should have seen it sticking up with him like 6 feet off the ground.
So after the yell, then Spock comes and
Gaetano gets down there and starts firing.
Right.
Starts lighting them up.
And the whole time, Scotty, doesn't matter what's that, people dying left and right, Scotty keeps working.
Look, if you don't get the ship ready
Mission
to go,
focus.
it doesn't
Keeps
matter.
Working.
Mission focus,
doesn't
man.
matter. And this
Scotty looks at him at one point and goes, "You got your hands full."
So this is a juxtaposition. This is a situation, whether emotions or the logic of the scenario takes precedent. Now, we know, as we did Balance of Terror, that in a submarine, sometimes the situation, you might have to send a man to his death to
sacrifice some people to save everybody else.
Try to seal off a compartment, and you might have to seal him off too, so that the ship can be saved. I really don't see any difference here. That they have to get off of the planet, but now they found that there is these giant bipedal creatures,
Care Bears,
and that they're throwing telephone poles at spears. And they
have garage doors for shields.
Yeah, we've exaggerated. They're not quite telephone poles, but they're huge. And the shields are huge.
They're 10-foot spears, and
so when Spock gets there and he takes the spear out of the back, out of the back of the individual who has now been perforated.
Latimer.
And he's looking at
his name was Latimer.
He's looking. He's not a red shirt. Stop defending him. He's dead now. He's looking at the
Latimer's
spear.
dead because he was stupid.
And Spock's spending time looking at the spear, trying to figure out what type of culture or creature.
Yeah, he does a quick anthropological study.
Yeah,
created it, and the rest of the guys go, hold on, there's a dead guy.
And Bowman and Gaetano are like, don't you care? But and Spock correctly says, he's done, man. What do you want me to say?
There's nothing I can do for him. But then you start to get the emotions.
Grab his phaser.
Against the logic. And you know what came to mind? Zombie movies.
Right.
Yeah.
Where it's someone's loved one.
It's bit.
They're bit and they're about to turn, or even they have turned. And the person's still treating them like they're savable. Even though the zombie who they love is trying to chew their face off.
Mm-hmm.
And if another character comes up and kills a zombie, that nut job kills the guy that kills the zombie.
Does happen sometimes.
Emotion causes us to lose sight of the reality.
Happy Halloween.
That we're facing. And happy Halloween, people from Men on Track.
All right.
So this is the scenario. Spock's logic is absolutely correct, absolutely necessary, but because of the pleasantries of, oh, I'm so sorry he's dead, was not there, the crew starts to chafe against it.
Yeah, the cold logic is not effective leadership. It's not effective leadership.
So you want woo-woo-woo?
No. But there has to be a balance.
Woo, woo, woo.
There has to be a balance.
Woo, woo, woo. He's dead. Yo, woo, woo, woo ain't helping the guy there.
But there has to be a balance. You need people moving in the right direction.
These are trained individuals, though. They're supposed to look at it.
But they have emotions.
They're supposed to look at it. Look, my life is, I'm still alive.
The truth
Arthur.
The truth of it.
I can't do nothing for the guy laying there.
Public service announcement, don't get in a shuttlecraft with Captain Daystrom.
You're right, because I'll flush you.
Well, it almost seemed like Gaetano. It was like, this is the first dead guy he's ever seen. And I'm like, aren't you on the Enterprise?
Yeah, it does come off like that.
Right?
But remember, these guys are science people, whatever. They don't go out and play very much.
They're not command staff.
Yeah, that's true.
They're not Kirk.
Well, I don't know. They're gold shirts, right? So isn't that command staff?
Yeah, it's part of the command group.
Yeah, one of them's been perforated, and the other one's ready to blast anything that moves.
Right. Yeah. But they're not the hardcore guys, you know.
The biggest thing that I had to deal with this episode, and I understand it because they wrote it extraordinarily well, and that is why Spock was not disintegrating people.
Oh, why he didn't want to use lethal force?
Well, not lethal, like, put this on, zero, what do we call it when somebody gets hit with
no evidence?
The no evidence.
That's setting 8, as I recall.
If you hit a couple of them and they just totally disappeared,
that would have probably been more effective.
Don't you think so? Mm-hmm. Because there wouldn't be a body there or something, and then they would think, oh, well, these are spirits that have taken them.
Only if they were able to see their buddy get burned down.
Well, they were there in mass.
Now, if you go off from your group, and you're the one I'm confronting, and I burn you down and you disappear, that doesn't show any fear to the ones that's left. We talked about this in which one was it?
The Gorn Drive-By.
The Gorn Drive-By.
What's worse, a body or somebody's incinerated?
Which is worse, coming into the city where you see nobody, or coming into a city where you see everybody laying there?
The thing is what this is supposed to be, this primitive, loose, tribal sort of thing. So, to me, for them, which would be more effective to keep them from messing with me is that you're out there with 20 guys. All of a sudden, you see all these lights, and when you go back to your rally point, there's only 10 of you. And you're like, well, let's go look for their bodies. There's no bodies. And then they start thinking, these must be gods who have taken them, and there's no evidence of them anymore.
You're making the assumption it's a loose tribe. You're gone. That's more food for me. I'm not.
No.
Now a tight tribe. Yeah. Let's go find our brother.
I tend to think it's more effective if they see a body.
I agree. That's where I'm coming from.
But in the scene, they describe them as being masked, and there's a lot of them. So in that context, I'm with Captain Palpatine. I got 10 of them in front of me, and I go poof, poof, poof on 3 or 4 of them.
But my first statement was if they see them go poof, yes. If the guy just disappears, I think it's better to see the body. Now, if they're masked and guys start going up in flames, and I would turn it down, I make it a little agonizing. So
I drop it down to a 6.
Yeah, I want to hear some screaming before they go.
It's not a Baron T disruptor, man.
No, what the point is, you want to instill fear.
Right.
But this is what Spock didn't. He wanted fear without
killing anyone. He thought the lights would scare them off.
And that only lasts so long.
And there's a fallacy in that because Gaetano had already opened up on him. And I don't know if he hit anything, but he was firing like crazy, and that didn't deter them.
I don't think he hit anything.
Lousy shot.
So Spock is dealing with it.
And by the time Latimer raises the flag out of his back, 24 hours have passed in the 2-day period that they have to search.
Oh yeah,
for
that's right. There is a clock.
Time is clicking.
It is Miller's planet.
So
tick-tock,
Spock
tick-tock.
looks at the spear, and then you have the problem that there is no emotional outpour from him towards the dead man, which sets the crew somewhat against Spock initially because there is no emotional outpour.
Right.
But Spock is about pure logic. And as you're right, Admiral, dealing with humans, there need to be
some empathy.
That needs to be taken into consideration.
There needs to be empathy.
You cannot dwell there.
Well, it's called morale.
Right. Yeah, it's morale. You cannot dwell. You cannot stay there and go, oh, woe is me, this guy's dead, and we can't do our job because we're moaning and crying about his death. No, you got to keep rocking.
Right.
You got to keep rocking. But
it's like in Predator when Jesse Ventura
gets killed,
bites it, and then Sergeant, what was his name? Character's name.
I can see him. I can't call the actor's name.
But he's like, I'll carry him in my poncho. Wrap him up in poncho and I'll carry him.
And the whole thing of I'm gonna get some payback for you, brother.
Yeah.
Right.
So they start to chafe. They go back to the ship. Start talking about what's going on, and
Bowman's insisting on a burial for Latimer.
Yeah, well, before the burial, I don't know if it's before the. Well,
burial. No, he insists on burying Latimer, but Spock says no, we don't have time for that. We got to fix the ship and get out of here.
Yeah, we got to get out of here.
Right.
We got to get out of here. But it's cruxed in the statement Spock made when they first land, that the necessity of weight of 3 crew members. Spock uses crew members as the guide because in Spock's mind, those are the things that are easily
Well, he figures out there's very little that can be taken off the shuttle, and the shuttle will still work. And when you take off what you can take off, you're still 500 pounds short.
Right.
Now, what would you do? Would you stay, or would you ride up on the shuttle?
If I'm in command and I have to take 3 of us off, I'm probably going to be one of them.
I agree.
I'm probably
I
one.
thought that should have been automatic in the minds of.
But if you're not the commander, would you volunteer to stay?
Oh hell no! I'm not volunteering.
Voluntold, maybe.
See, I would have stayed, and the reason is because of this. At least if this is pre before you take my phaser.
Right. Well, the phaser.
Now, you don't take my phaser.
That's not necessary at this.
I'm arm wrestling somebody for a seat.
That's not necessary at this point in the episode yet.
Right. But if I have the ability to defend myself,
yeah,
like I'd rather do that than go up and burn up in a re-entry.
Yeah, because at this point,
because I can always turn that phaser on. Unlike Latimer ends up getting it smacked out of his hand.
Gaetano
gets it smacked out of his hand. That ain't coming out of my hand.
Well, the size of that rock that hit his hand
should have been shattered.
I would have shot that rock on its way in. I would have been like.
Well, it actually hit his
there
wrist.
You go, right there.
It would have shattered all the bones in his
his
wrist.
hand. That rock was huge. But that's why you practice your offhand shooting. But you don't get caught with your primary offline and no way to go.
So they come back to the shuttle, and then the conversation about the monsters
But that's where the conflict deepens. That's where the conflict deepens because Bowman wants to bury Latimer, and Spock's like, no way, and Bowman's like, what kind of guy are you?
Well, Bowman wants him to come out and read from the Orange Catholic Bible or something.
Yeah.
And say some words and everything. And
and Spock's like, hey, McCoy, handle that.
Ashes to ashes, dust to dust.
And McCoy's like, that's your job.
Ashes to ashes, dust
Spock's
to
like,
dust. If the spear doesn't get you, the Care Bear must.
Spock's like, look, I'm trying to get us out of here. You guys want to waste time on this?
Yeah.
You want to see? I'm down with Spock. I'm with him.
I'm drifting.
That's because you're empathy challenged.
I'm drifting towards the Admiral on this
I'm about us getting out of here.
Yeah, I'm drifting towards the Admiral on this one. He's not. Spock
it's
is
not
missing
effective. It's simply not effective leadership.
He's missing something. He's on a shuttle full of humans.
Right.
And the best way to get a human to do things is to help them with their emotions so they can get back to focusing.
It's actually, in this scenario, it's actually logical for him to take some time and say, yeah, it stinks that Latimer died. That's terrible. But we gotta carry on, gentlemen.
Mm-hmm. But before we do,
instead of saying,
let us bow our heads.
No, he doesn't.
Let us bow our heads and recognize whatever deity or deities that bring you comfort.
Yeah. Or some,
Scotty never got off the ground, though. Scotty kept working.
Scotty
didn't care that Latimer was dead. Scotty's like, I got one job on this stinking ship, and that's to get it up and running.
Because Scotty knows at the end of the day, he, McCoy, and Spock are going to be on that shuttle. He doesn't know. He doesn't care if anybody else is going to be, but he knows it's going to carry 3, and he's going to be one of them.
But here's the problem. Scotty, in his attempts to repair the ship, tries to run a fuel line.
No. He tells Spock. He goes, look,
we're overloading him.
Yeah, he goes, this probably won't hold. And Spock's like, well, we got to try it.
But it's one of the few times Scotty doesn't succeed. The bypass fails.
Yeah.
The bypass fails, and Scotty looks at Spock very matter-of-factly and says, yeah, so I just dumped all our fuel.
Mm-hmm.
Now what?
And the beasts are getting closer. And right. He says, now what? And Spock says, something always comes up.
There's always an alternative.
Think about it. And then the beasts start getting closer, and they call for Spock. And then Spock and the 2 individuals
Spock and Gaetano and Bowman.
Gaetano and Bowman have
Spock takes a big moral stand, and he's like, I'm kind of appalled by you humans always wanting to kill things.
Yeah, because Gaetano's like, let's blast them.
Blast them down.
And Bowman and even McCoy are like, yeah, it's time to start killing bears.
Yeah, and Spock has he's got a half-hearted try of getting consensus from his crew. He's like, what do you think and what do you think? We're not doing that.
Yeah, it's like yeah, Mr. Vulcan, we want to shoot the big giant monsters. That's what we want to do. And I can't. I'm sorry. When I got 10-foot teddy bears throwing poles at me, yeah, it's on. It is so on.
Yeah, it's weird. The discipline breaks down in some areas, but the other areas it just stays rock solid.
But they're so cute.
No, they're not. They're not cute at all. They got pig faces on top of everything else.
Because at one point he puts Gaetano and Boma on point positions and tells them to fire.
Well,
at
that's the scare tactic. Yeah.
Well, I would have burned them all down, and I would have said, "Whoa, you mean your 2 o'clock or my 2 o'clock?" Like,
oh, your left.
That's what, yeah, your left.
Your left. Oh, and yeah, I am set on 8. I'm sorry.
What happened to the top of that hill?
I thought I saw something. I was terrified.
I was trying to scare them by disintegrating the hill that they were standing on.
Face court martial later.
But one thing that jumped out at me kind of in that scene, they do a good job. I mean, obviously the set is limited, and back in '67, they knew the creature wasn't going to come off very well, so they do a very good job with the atmospherics,
keeping them hidden.
The mists, the rocks, the background and setting creates a nice tension that the monsters by themselves, especially if you could really see them, wouldn't.
Right.
Because the scenes where you actually see the monsters get a little bit weaker because the bear suits are just kind of
yeah, they're bad.
Kind of prehistoric Wookiee.
Well,
thing
it leads us
on.
up to they supposedly scare him off. Spock says to Boma, "Come on, let's go, Katano. I'm going to leave you here."
Yeah, I don't understand. I don't understand that order.
Yeah, I do.
I don't understand.
He made a decision on who's going to stay.
Spock's looking at his tricorder like,
exactly.
I got 350 pounds to go.
That's it. That's it.
I got.
And then we have one of the teddy bears come in, and Katano is
Katano dies.
Well, he takes a rock to the hand, and then he loses his phaser. And I would have been scrabbling. He jumps for the phaser. One of the telephone poles comes his way. He jumps back. I would have jumped right back for that phaser because you're done without that phaser. There's no crawling. Even if you started to climb the rock, the thing's 10 foot tall.
I'm not climbing.
With this reach, you couldn't climb high enough. No way. It'd yank you down.
I'm belly crawling in that mist and hoping for the best.
Man, I'd have jumped for that phaser again.
Yeah, the phaser. They'd have caught me fighting for that phaser.
I'd be like Captain Tracy. My phaser be empty. I'd still be.
It seems like though the creatures had a very low speed.
Yeah, they weren't fast.
And I don't know, maybe they were just doing that for the effect of like drama and horror.
Yeah,
but suspense. It seems like all Gaetano had to do was just walk briskly away.
Well, it's the fear. It's the fear issue. It's the same thing.
Well, usually you fight or flight, so his fight was gone.
He froze.
Yeah. Right, that's what I'm saying. It's the fear issue. The original was the Romeo zombie movie. What's the name of the Night of the Living Dead?
George
Romero zombie movie. Night of the Living Dead. The zombies were super slow.
Yeah, pretty much.
And you could walk around them, but people were just too afraid of them.
Mm-hmm.
They were just too afraid to do it.
Right.
Now later on, Zombie 2.0 came out.
Well,
it didn't matter what
that's
you did.
That's the end of civilization.
But the problem is people fear
Mr. Snyder
causes them to freeze.
Yeah.
And the beasties get you.
Some people freeze when they're sweating.
My whole thing has always been I just got to be faster than Admiral Redshirt.
Oh, thank you. Well, my whole thing has always been while Captain Daystrom runs away, I just have to start shooting.
Yeah, back at the because as soon as I take off, I'm making a quick turn to put something between me and you.
Not you. No,
I'm just making sure.
No,
because I don't want you to shoot me in the leg.
I understand you. I understand you. I've known you for years. I'm going to hear footsteps, and I'm not. Speed is not my strong point. So that's when the phaser comes out, and I stay alive. Now, if I can wing you in the knee and buy some time, then cool. But Gaetano dies a bad death.
Yeah,
I'm not putting him down in the books as having gone out bravely.
So when they hear the scream, Spock and
Boma and McCoy
go back to look for him.
But why leave him there to begin with? Outside of Jim's theory, which is good.
Well, then Spock does something that McCoy questions. He's like, "Look, I'm gonna go try to find Gaetano." And they're like, "Why?" He goes, "Let's just say I've got a scientific curiosity on what happened to him." Then he hands over his phaser and he says, "Take this back to."
Well, first thing he picks up Gaetano's phaser.
Oh, right.
Right, and Boma's mad at him about that.
No, he's mad when he gives it to McCoy and says, "Give this to Scotty to convert."
Right.
And Boma's like, "The man just died. You're handing over his weapon?"
Yeah, he don't need it no more, dude.
Yeah.
Put this to fuel so we can get off this rock, right?
See, empathy. The word you're looking for is empathy.
No, I'm not looking for empathy. You're supposed to be a Starfleet officer. You're supposed to be able to process this stuff.
Right? See, that's why he got back with his ship.
You're supposed to be a.
But was it empty?
I'm not saying his crew. I'm not saying his crew was intact.
You're supposed to be
430 out, 260 back.
I'm not going down on a away mission with these loose cannons. You're supposed to be able to process this stuff, right? We're supposed to be all pulling together to get out of here. We ain't got time to hold hands and sing Kumbaya, Arthur.
Come on. Daystrom standing up. Daystrom standing up in his command chair, looking over his helmsman's shoulder, talking about, handle that. Suck it up.
One man's dead. Now another one's dead, and we got to get off this rock. Because staying here, even with our advanced technology and our advanced knowledge, is not conducive to good health. We don't have time to sing Kumbaya, dig graves, and all that stuff. It's time to, what do they say in the Aliens?
So Marines, here's the other thing.
We are leaving. It's time to get out of here.
Here's the other thing. We know that Captain Tracy with a phaser.
Oh, he would have went in this power pack. He would have took over the planet.
They had at least 6 phasers. Now what they do is though they make sure that you can't drain the phasers because then you can't leave. However, if I'm Gaetano, that when they picked that phaser up, it would have been drained.
Yeah,
because I would have been burning everything down.
And to the earlier discussion, if Gaetano had kept his phaser and really went to work, those things are not going to keep charging him in the face of that kind of destruction.
The crew members never should have went away from the shuttle. There's no point to leave the shuttle.
Yeah, there's no point to go looking around.
No point to go looking around.
Well, there is. Initially
setting a perimeter. But how far away is the perimeter?
That's the point. How far do you have to go? I would have been in a clearing, set up a perimeter. Anything come past here that ain't waving a peace sign, burn it down.
Burn it.
Tracy would have set up a perimeter, and them beasts would have got burnt to a crisp.
Tracy would have had a hut and some bearskin rugs.
Tracy would have got out of there. And if he didn't, he would have been king of the planet.
Those shields would have been on my wall.
Those shields would have been the hut. Big, nice teepee.
So Spock goes to find which one?
Gaetano's body.
And he finds Gaetano's body.
I wondered from a production standpoint, I'd love to know what the production people would have liked to have done. It's 1967 television. Your special effects are limited. What you can show on a TV show is limited. I wonder what they envisioned for like Gaetano's mutilated body, or what they would have shown if you were like doing this today. But
yeah, you didn't see any blood on him. You didn't see
they didn't tear his clothes, which they should have. They kind of did some stuff to his face to kind of give you the sense he'd been mauled.
Yeah, it was very much, if you remember watching the westerns of that time, somebody got captured or killed or whatever, they were just limp bodies.
And once again, it's because of the era.
The limitations.
Right. There's only so much they can show on TV. Back then, men and women were still sleeping in separate beds in their bridal chamber.
Only on television.
Well, this is television. That's what I'm talking about. There's a limitation of what they can do, as you're pointing out.
Ricky and Lucy.
Yep.
Yeah, you probably could have, but the censors probably didn't allow it. Probably the censors made them show that his body was still together, because you could have just had Spock come around a bend and just seen like a hand,
seen a leg,
sticking up out of the mist, and he could have.
That would have been too much.
Yeah, that would have been.
So he picks up it.
If they made that today, you'd have seen that bear would have closed in on the shot, and you'd have seen an arm go flying, and there would have been all this blood curdling scream and splashing.
Spock would have just went out and found a puddle of blood
and some bits. Yeah.
Mm.
So he picks him up. He brings him back to the shuttle, and he's trying to figure out where we are, what's going on, how are we going to do this.
Right.
And then the Bowman wants the.
That's when Scotty tells him. Well, Scotty's already told him how to. That's what Scotty's already told him, how to fix the drain the phasers and what have you. And Scotty's working on that.
Right, but when he comes back with the body. Yeah. Spock sits down. And
he's perplexed as to why his fear tactic didn't work.
Right, and he gets assaulted by Bowman and McCoy.
Well, Bowman goes off on him, but McCoy's just kind of like, Spock, you should have expected an illogical response. And Spock's like, but surely they should have understood that they shouldn't bother us after our display.
That's what I mean. McCoy went off on them because McCoy goes, their response is completely logical.
Right. They responded with violence.
Because they're emotional. Mm-hmm. A human understands that if you do something to me, you hurt my friend, I will have an emotional response.
Right.
My response won't be built on logic. A human understands that.
Cold hard logic is not effective leadership.
If you talk about somebody's mother, you're liable to get slapped.
Liable.
Right?
Right.
That's purely logical according to the logic of humans, because emotions are in the play. The point is, Spock has, as you keep saying, I have that gap. Spock has that gap where he doesn't see the emotions. He's going off logic as he knows logic.
Let me see your ears. Maybe that will explain it. Let me check. No, that's not it.
I'm very logic. It's what is it? The term I want. Nonetheless.
So then one of the teddy bears comes up and starts hammering the Galileo
with a rock,
with a Gorn-sized boulder.
That's a little bit bigger than the Gorn-sized boulder.
Is.
It's a good size. It's a good size piece of masonry.
But let's not move beyond yet to that where Spock is trying to reason.
Spock's logic has failed him at this moment.
It hasn't failed him. He now, the beautiful thing is he sees his gap in logic.
Right. Well, he sees his thinking is wrong.
He sees his thinking is wrong.
Right.
That he has to now give room for the emotional aspect of it.
Right.
Because the creatures he's dealing with and the people he's dealing with cannot look beyond their emotions into logic. Now, the creatures is one thing. The Starfleet officers should be able to, but they're not
to a point. But I
didn't get that he had an epiphany. What I got is that he was going through the equation again.
It's the beginning.
I had this variable and this variable and this variable, and it should have equaled this, but it didn't equal this. Like he was still he didn't go, oh, you know what? I made a mistake. He was like, I don't understand this. He never got to the aha moment that I saw.
No, he does, but not in that moment.
No, not in that moment. In that moment, he's just like this. The equation is not.
He's beginning.
He's rationalizing.
He's beginning to figure
out
out
the equation.
But he doesn't get to the end. He doesn't get to the end in that point. At that moment.
Right. Mm-hmm. Well, we know he does, but in that particular episode, he doesn't. But he's going through it.
Right.
He's looking at it and saying, "Okay, I did this.
Where did I go wrong?
This, but I got X.
Right. And I wasn't expecting X.
I have A, B, C, but it gave me E.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Something's wrong." And McCoy adds the component.
Right.
But later on,
McCoy's additional variable is the one that Spock can't understand, because McCoy even says, he goes, D is about reacting emotionally,
right?
And Spock was just like, it doesn't make any sense. I worked every problem the way it was supposed to be, and he goes, no, you didn't work variable D in the equation, and Spock goes, but I worked all the variables, and McCoy's like, you didn't add D, and he's like, I don't even know what D is. I mean, because it's an emotional factor that he's like, why would that ever be in a logical equation?
Because emotional creatures respond on the emotional factor. D has to be worked into it.
Right.
Now, the Starfleet, once again, as I said, the Starfleet officers, to a degree, should be past that. Now, under serious stress, this is why the Navy trains people for floods, especially submarines, fires.
Yes.
Because you have to go beyond the emotional aspect and deal with
perform. That's all training.
Regardless of how you feel about it, regardless if your best friend just got blown to smithereens, you can't sit there and bemoan. If you're gonna moan, keep working.
Yeah, you gotta overcome your emotions and function.
And this is my problem with those. And now I know we have to get the writers have to get over a story. They have to show the emotions of the people.
A character has to represent that aspect.
This was my problem with Space 1999. Since it was a British show, the British people process emotions somewhat differently than Americans. And the show always came off as very cold to me, especially as a kid watching it. Now I know this is Space 1999 was in the 70s, but it always came off as a little dry, a little cold. Mm-hmm. But
I just thought it was weird.
That military aspect of it. You wouldn't have all this emotional play unless that character is somewhat a character off the rails.
Right. Yeah, to a degree.
It's like the First Federation. Which episode is that?
Corbomite
maneuver. When the one ensign goes, "Are you all robots?"
Yeah.
Like he's done. He'll never get a ship.
Yeah.
You know.
That's probably a better delivery of what you're talking about than what we got here.
That's what I'm talking about. There's something that not quite right. This character Bowman seems to have it together, but in this one aspect, it's breaking down. I thought too quick.
Yeah. And targeting, again, I kind of like the prejudice theory. Targeting Spock to be the focus of his angst.
I think he was prejudiced.
Targeting Spock.
Well, the other thing, McCoy says that he goes, if we're gonna die, let us die like men, and that's useless on Spock.
That's useless. Yeah. That's useless on me.
Yeah.
Well, you got an issue.
Dying is dying.
You a little low on.
Dying is dying, man. God, what's the word I'm trying to use? I can't think of the word.
It's okay. It's okay. We know you're gonna leave us on the planet. You're gonna ride off. You're gonna ride off with Yeoman Mears. We know. We already know.
Just like I would have saved
someone has to.
Just like I would have saved the whore at the gate at the.
That was not saving.
At the edge of forever.
That was kidnapping.
No, that's saving.
That was kidnapping.
I'm making sure she survives.
Yeah, rather she wants to or not.
She want to.
Sure. Kidnapping.
Well, now we get to a very shocking scene.
Yeah. Yeah. The pink Care Bear is hitting the top of the shuttlecraft with the rock, with
the Gorin boulder.
The Gorin boulder, and I was impressed with. You may hate the way the shuttlecraft looks, but durability. Well,
it depends on how much force the Care Bear can generate.
He was generating a good amount of force. He had the bus rocking.
Yeah, he did.
He had the bus rocking.
Yeah, that's true.
But again, the very utilitarian shuttlecraft, you go to the back of it and there's an exposed power cell and you run a wrench over it and
short the outside.
With your sequence Michael Jackson electrically insulated gloves.
So it's not properly grounded.
Mm-hmm. Well, it is until Scotty ungrounds it.
Spock's like, get on the carpet.
Don't
touch
see the
anything.
Arcs outside the window?
Yeah.
That thing was catching those 20 die fireballs.
Interesting thought, though.
Yeah.
Interesting thought. It's just so much. I like what Star Trek has done and all those things that we've been given. That now you get a beast and you electrify the hull. Wasn't that done in 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea?
Yeah,
with
Nemo.
The
It's done
Nemo.
a lot of
With
things.
the squid?
Yeah. They electrify. Yeah. Everybody knows electricity is an equalizer.
Yeah, man. Bring them beasties under control.
Mm-hmm.
So they shock the Care Bear and get him off the ship. But now, and again, good writing. There's consequences to that action.
You used up energy.
You used up the ignition energy.
There's no free lunch.
Right.
There's no free lunch.
You've used up the ignition energy, and now you've gone from maybe having one or two shots at this, maybe two good shots at this, to, okay, now we get to take off one time, and we get to come right back, and it's not going to be pretty.
Right.
Right.
We get to crash for real.
So once again, the question starts going around, we got to come back. And Spock's like, I don't know if you want to come back. You think you want to come back here?
You want to go
He
hand
said
in hand?
death in space is a lot better than coming back here.
You want to go hand in hand with the Care Bears?
Right.
I don't know. You could have traipsed out the Uwe and maybe she would have soothed the beast.
No.
Oh, my goodness.
No, one of them would have been picking their teeth with her.
You got to try everything.
So you just went from save the Uwe at all costs to tie her to the sacrificial rock and hope for the best.
Hey, there's a reason things happen.
See, you short-sighted. I'm gonna take a page out of your book.
It's Skull Island, man. It's Skull Island.
There's too many.
Take the pretty girl and tie her to the stake.
There's too many.
It could work with King Kong. It might work for us.
No, there's too many. There's too many Kongs in this camp.
Well, then
they might fight each other.
Fight amongst themselves.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, they might kill each other trying to rescue the girl.
Here's the new plan. When everybody piles off the shuttlecraft, I'm grabbing mirrors and running away from everybody else.
Oh, now you're absconding.
I'm saving.
You're
now.
absconding with the woman.
I'm saving her. I'm saving her.
So they shot the
buddy.
beast, and everybody goes, "It worked." And Spock goes, "No, that we just scared him for a bit. He's processed now.
He's on track. He's on track now.
They're coming back because we didn't. They were going to figure out that they haven't been really hurt,
right?
And they're going to come back and they're going to peel us open like a can opener.
But we got to go back to all through all these events to Palpatine's point. Scotty is like, whatever.
Right.
I'm gonna swing this wrench.
At one point,
I'm on the scope.
Everybody is on full loading, full loads on Spock. Like McCoy's in his face. Your mother's ugly, and Bulma's like, you'll never be anything. And even Mears was like, I need to do pot.
Mears is like, those ears are not cute.
Yeah. Scotty looks up at him and he goes, well, you got your hands full.
Scotty looks up from the scope he's on. He's like,
you got your hands full.
He's like, Scotty looks up like, I'm going to continue to fix this ship.
But what a great line for an engineer, because what he's saying is like, that's why I'm not in command. Right. That's why I don't want to deal with people. I don't want to deal with these people.
Give me a circuit.
Yeah.
Scotty's like, all this is irrelevant if I don't fix this shit.
If I don't fix
you notice Bone was not saying Scotty, and like, look at you, you're down there just working on stuff while there's a dead guy out front.
Nobody says boo.
Scotty, that's right.
Nobody says boo to Scotty.
You don't say boo.
Through the whole episode, he's laid out in the middle of the floor, and they're just stepping over him.
That's the point I'm trying to make. Scotty's not worried about all this emotional stuff. Scotty's dealing with. Scotty's like, oh no, I can't do my job because 2 men are dead. Scotty's trying to get the ship fixed.
Spock brings in Gaetano, steps over Scotty. Scotty like, oh, he got smoked?
And then he grabs Scotty and go, don't you care that they're dead?
That's right.
Oh, I don't care. We're all going to be dead if I don't get this ship fixed.
And not only that, people know that if everybody in that crew knows, let's say you did get out of it, but you disrespected Scotty, you'd be back in your crew quarters. It'd be the 2 days later, and you'd be like, "It's getting cold in here."
Yeah, lights supposed to be turned off in my room.
No, you wake up floating. The gravity's not working. The gravity's not working. All your stuff's floating.
The toilet water's floating through your cabin.
No. This is what
you see Scotty on the monitor just going like,
This is what's actually going down when we're off camera. They're out running around, running from the Care Bears. Scotty's looking at Mears back on the shuttlecraft like, never mind them. Stick with me.
You and I get out of here.
This ship's taking off no matter what.
Don't we need those other guys? No. Is anybody else fixing this thing?
Scotty's twisting the wrench, talking to Mears, talking about, Vulcans are heavy, right? Spock weighs a good 300 pounds, right? Say, look, I can, and if it's just you and me, I can take these other 5 chairs out of this thing, and we can really be gone.
Yeah, so
that's why Mears was not concerned.
After the shock, and Spock makes mention that
But let's not forget Yeoman Mears' fantastic military bearing.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean after the hit and she falls into the?
And she doesn't fall. She throws herself on the floor like a little teeny bopper.
That's when they're taking off.
That's when they're taking off.
That's when they're taking off.
And we're getting there.
Before the reveal.
Yeah.
Oh boy! Here we go.
Thank you.
I thought we got around it. I thought we got around it.
I should have let that go. That's my fault.
So he shocks them and they go off and they're preparing to take off.
Well, hold on a second, because we do cut back to Ferris the Jerk.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, and the captain,
Jim's favorite person.
Yep.
So
time is up.
While this is happening, Ferris on the dot to the second is like, Captain, time's up. You got to leave, and I wanted Captain Kirk to punch him in the face.
And Kirk goes, "Hold on, I still got search parties out there."
Kirk goes, "I got 2 landing parties, a space shuttle, and my uniform is at the cleaners. And I can't leave now."
And let's not forget the lucky landing party that found the Care Bears.
Well,
that was so great. Right. So who was that? Who was that? It was Lieutenant. Was it? Did we get his name?
I didn't catch his name.
This guy looked like he was dragged through a chimney.
So before Ferris comes on, Kirk calls a landing party, and
they tell him one of the landing parties is beamed up
with one dead,
2 dead. and 1 wounded.
Oh, okay.
2 dead and 1
I
wounded.
thought it was 1 dead.
Because when the guy's telling the story, he's like, Captain so and such caught spears before we even knew they were there.
Yeah, spear right through him.
He goes, it's the same anthropological thing found on Hanson's planet, except much bigger.
Much bigger.
10 to 12 feet tall.
And he's like, sir, if they're down on this planet,
they're all over the place.
They're sucking wind.
Unless Spock got some mean nerve pinches.
They crash landed on the east side.
Yeah, they got beat down
on the east side.
Yeah, he looked bad.
Oh yeah, he was.
Dude would deal what I said Gaetano should have done. He jumped in that fog and belly crawled out of there. That's what he did.
He looked like when they found Decker. Remember when they found Decker? He's like, Captain, they crash land on the east side. We gotta get out of here. They're coming for us.
They took everything.
They gonna get in that shuttle and ride it up here.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, he caught a beating.
So the who's the fleet officer?
Ferris
comes in and goes, "Hey, your time limit's up."
High
Commissioner, your time limit's up.
High Commissioner Super Suit.
And Kirk goes, "Look, I got landing parties out there. I got
Shuttlecraft
shuttles out there."
Columbus is
He's
still
like,
out.
"Look, Captain, you're just trying to delay time. Get those guys back. It's time for us to boogie.
Yep.
You did your best. Okay, we got a planet to save."
Right.
So once again, the necessity.
Now, Ferris does finally show a tiny bit of empathy.
Yeah.
He's like, Captain, look, I don't relish leaving your crew, but here we are. Finally. It's the only time in the whole episode he's not a complete jerk.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, I think they wrote him like that to build the tension.
Yeah,
he didn't have to be like that.
But it made everything worse.
Nowadays, I think you could have done it with soundtrack or something, built that tension without him having to be a jerk.
Actually, the way they write nowadays, he would have been
even
completely overbearing.
Yeah, he would have been even worse.
And you would have been wondering why they weren't killing you.
Yeah, he would have been even worse.
I don't think it would have been a him.
Yeah. Nowadays.
Yeah, too.
It would have been a female officer commanding you.
It would have been one of two things. If it's still Captain Kirk, yes, the commissioner's a female. And you got that whole dynamic.
I get what you're saying. The captain would
be
a female.
But if the captain's a female, then the commissioner's
it'd
be evil male. It'd be one or the other.
Yeah.
But if it was written today, they might even make the commissioner try to sabotage the ship and make him leave early or something. It'd be something way beyond just like the tyranny of the story.
Sulu would be like,
Sulu
would be like, sir, we're coming out of orbit, and you'd see him down there pulling the levers.
but to Kirk's point,
I'm a scumbag politician that knows how to hotwire starships.
All the way up to the very last second, he said, "Look, get our transporters working. I don't care what you do.
Overload the sensors, make it work.
Make it work." Mm-hmm. And then he says, "Okay, pull all the shuttles back." Because we have to leave, but we're leaving at space
normal speed.
That means we're crawling out of here.
That means this is the impulse. You just put a pink.
You see, no, they cut and you see Sulu places a penny on the throttle handle. It just,
you know what kind of crossed my mind when they get to this point? Because through all this, they go from we're blind, we can do nothing, to
it's starting to come back online.
Sensors online, transporters working. Partial communications. The Enterprise writes the book on how to navigate a quasar in this episode as an aside.
Oh yeah,
right.
When they come out of this, they can actually say, "Okay, when you run into X, you do Y, Z, and Q, and you're good."
Even planetary searches, and I'm pretty sure there's already a book for it.
Right.
But when they're running out of time, Kirk says, "Expand your search." And
Expand your search grid. Right.
Sulu's like, "Hold on, we're leaving a good space of
swaths of territory we won't see.
We're not going to see." And Kirk's like, "Look, we got to do what we got to do."
Well, he tells him, he goes, "Mind your helm."
Well, no, he tells him the key thing is he says, "You're right, but my way will see most of the planet."
Right.
Whereas if we stick to the book, we
might only get a quarter of it.
Right. It increases the odds.
It increases the odds.
But they literally write the book on how to navigate a quasar, and it's a throwaway thing. We figured out how to do all this in 2 days.
Right. So they're pulling away, and it's funny if you ever look at light speed charts, how long it takes for at the speed of light for something to leave not our atmosphere, but
solar system.
Our solar system. It takes forever.
Well, that's why they have warp capabilities. But
So
one of the things,
space normal speed is what?
sublight,
Just
definitely.
below the speed of light.
Right.
Well, full impulse is just below the speed of
Right.
or speed, light speed.
So space normal speed has got to be what? Full impulse?
If
I would think-
full impulse is normal subspace cruising,
I would think that would be full impulse.
Right.
I bet cruising is not full impulse. I bet it's half or something.
No, not for a warp class vessel. Cruising would be warp
No,
two.
remember, impulse is just navigating through space. Remember, Kirk's not going to warp yet. Kirk's saying pull away space normal speed. He's not at warp.
No.
I know he's not at warp, but I'm saying cruising speed for the Enterprise would be at least warp 2. I would think.
That's traveling at warp, but he said space normal speed. They didn't go to warp.
I understand that. So the terms are
there's two different engine systems. There's the impulse engines and the warp.
I know. The term would
The man ran a starship for 5 years, Admiral. Let's not get too.
All right, let's not
try to bully him. I got to stand up for my co-captain here. He knows.
I got a few more tours under my belt. That's how I got up
All right,
here.
let's not get bogged down.
I want to make sure. What was that one? Let me hear.
He doesn't know.
You're great. I am great.
You're great.
I want to make sure we promise them Galloway. So Galloway is working the transporter room.
Yes, he is.
When Kirk comes in and they're beaming over some, stainless steel biker plate, boxes over.
They're testing the boxes.
Yeah, and it's Galloway.
That's like when the transporter was out. He goes, nah, stuff didn't come back.
Disorganized.
A disorganized mass.
Disorganized mass.
That's a nice way of saying don't get on the transporter.
Yeah.
Right.
Which was probably one of the best scenes in Star Trek the Motion Picture. Yeah.
You finally see a transporter accident. That was bad considering how long the technology had been around.
Who was a little bit of trivia for you, Admiral? Who was the transporter officer in that scene?
That was still Mr. Kyle.
No, that was Rand, wasn't it?
It was Rand.
It was Yeoman Rand.
Rand, yes.
It was Yeoman Rand, and it was a Vulcan officer.
First officer.
That's why Spock got called back.
Yeah, it was a Vulcan
They
first
broke
officer.
a Vulcan.
Spock didn't get called back. He showed up.
He shows up.
Yeah.
They broke a Vulcan.
Yeah.
Yep.
Perfectly good Vulcan.
Inside out. So
what we got back didn't live very long.
Thank God.
Thank God.
So
is there a dude standing in transporter room with a phaser just for the mercy shot?
I would beam it right back out to space.
There should be within the buffer of the transporter that as you approach materialization, if it's that disorganized that it just simply
Hold you in the buffer?
Or destroys your matter at that point somehow.
I don't think you want to put that type of program that the transporter would destroy matter.
No, you don't want that.
I don't know. It just seems like it's
because if you get a programming glitch, then the transporter.
Well, again, I liked it because it's better writing. Because in later shows, they made the transporter buffer immortality.
Yes.
They made it this thing where
that's next generation. The transporter, like the holodeck, became greater than its
and the replicators. But when you have a technology and they ground it in that reality that yes, if this thing gets out of calibration, if it's not perfect,
right,
this is what happens.
Yes, you keep the risk,
and there's no way
failure,
around it.
Right, the risk of failure is
it's a simple mundane thing. But if the brakes go out in your car.
Now, there is a Star Trek novel that dealt with this where Kirk was duplicated and finally...
He got duplicated in The Enemy Within.
Well, there's a Star Trek novel dealing with the transporter where he gets duplicated, not like The Enemy Within, an actual
copy,
Kirk.
Just like Riker.
And there was an enemy that the Enterprise was fighting, this Star Trek novel, who used the transporters to make himself immortal. He had a dead man switch. As soon as you killed him, the transporter would beam up his body and recreate him, and he would come back. I forgot the name of the character.
They shouldn't allow it to
Remember Ron Mitchen's teleport?
That's the one. That's where he got it from. Because Ron Mitchen told me about the book, and I read it. That's where he got the idea from. Yeah. But nonetheless, so Kirk's going space normal speed to try to drag it out. And
pointing all sensors aft.
Point all sensors aft and keep it on the planet until we can't do it anymore.
Right.
So we go back to the planet, and then the
beasties are coming in again.
The beasties are coming in, and Spock
holding the shuttle down.
And Spock, well, they tell them to take off, and they're not lifting.
Right.
And it's like, well, why aren't we lifting? And that's because the beasties are holding them down.
Right.
And so he
clicks the boosters.
He burns the thrusters to get more lift.
He burns the thrusters to get more lift, and they get free. And Scotty's like,
"What'd you do, man?"
Yeah, hey, you just burnt.
Control reentry is out the window.
I think the thing that Scotty was most upset about was that once again, here's another officer that's starting to break the ship he just fixed.
Well, when he does it, Scotty moves out the chair and Spock sits down, and he goes, "Look, we got to. You want to stay here?
Right.
This is They're getting ready to break the ship like a clamshell.
Right.
You don't want to stay here, right?
Right.
So we have to do what's necessary to get off the planet. So they get off the planet, but it burns their extra.
Do you think
fuel.
there was a Galaxy Quest outside shot? Remember when Galaxy Quest, when they took off, that the miners were falling from that? Do you think one of the...
I guess that's why I think of that Galaxy Quest episode so much, because it fits this one so much.
Yeah.
Landing on the planet, checking for atmosphere, the beasties on the outside trying to get in, and beasties holding you down.
Well,
wait a second.
Sure that's deliberate.
We skipped over we skipped over a scene, and that's where they are. What was the guy's name? The one lieutenant, the last
Boma.
one. No. The other one who got killed.
Gaetano.
They go to Barry Gaetano,
Gaetano,
and you see these Western graves where it's basically they've just put dirt on the top of them. They haven't even dug anything.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, they get attacked, and then Spock gets the Gorn boulder thrown at him, and he's got to hold it up against himself.
Yeah.
So it doesn't roll away. And then they go over there, and they pull the boulders back, and he's like, I told you to leave me.
And they save him, yeah. And that's after Bowman, demands a burial for Gaetano.
And he says, I would even have you buried. And that's where McCoy goes, hey, now. and that's Scotty's like,
and Scotty's full on ready to knock him out, finally.
Yeah.
Well, Scotty's not working anumore. He has time to think about it.
Attention. Yeah.
He has time to think about it.
So they run on board, and then they go through the booster thing, and then that's where Yeoman Mears.
Yeah, here you go. Have at it. Yeoman Mears and her fantastic military bearing.
She falls in the
She does not fall.
She falls.
She throws herself on the floor like a teeny bopper. Like,
lady.
Oh, goody, we got away. I felt like I was watching Scooby-Doo.
The poor young lady falls. Now, unfortunately, a lot of thigh was showing and the red things.
They're things now. They're things now.
Yeah.
Things.
Yeah.
Got you on tape saying something else.
What? I don't know what you're talking about.
Her Starfleet issue red shorts were showing.
Yeah, they're showing.
Yeah. Chicken.
So the poor young lady, she needs to be picked up and put back in her seat.
You talked. Talked all that junk.
She is dainty. You zoom in with the 4K, you might have seen some lace or something, but yeah.
There's no lace.
How do you know?
Gym shorts.
You didn't look hard enough.
How do you know?
Oh, you're telling me you did look hard enough.
You don't know one way or the other.
All right.
You don't know one way or the other.
Right. So
I verified that the uniform was appropriate for Starfleet regulations.
Oh my.
So you're looking at women's shorts.
An admiral's work is never done. Uniforms must be appropriate.
Don't let him on your ship.
Like
Palpatine.
Like a Commodore, he has his own transporter in his quarters.
That's right. 2 pads. 2 pads.
So they get away.
Yeah. They break orbit.
They break orbit.
Right.
They're up in this.
And Scotty confirms now that you won't even have a crash landing now.
And everybody's shocked about burning up.
You will burn up.
And Spock's like, I don't think it's too much different.
Spock's like, burn up?
Well, Spock's like, we got 45 minutes. And it's like, okay.
And Spock's sitting there, and he's contemplating.
And they do that shot on the panel.
And they do the shot on the panel, and Spock goes.
Everything's written in a funky symbol except fuel jettison is in English.
And fuel ignition switch.
That's right. Everything else is like omega, theta, 3, whatever. But the fuel jettison switch is just marked.
but the two that's marked bang and pow.
That's right. Bang and pow.
They want you to see it. Spock reaches over there and flips the switch. Boom. Man, shit,
what are you doing, man?
And of course, for credit to the remaster, you get some really great shuttlecraft shots in the launch bays and.
Well, there was a when they were launching the Columbia.
Columbus.
Columbus.
I
thought it was Columbia, but
they cancel that shuttlecraft these days.
But there was somebody up at ILM all night long going I'm gonna.
It looked really good.
Yeah.
It looked really good. And when they pulled back and you saw the planet, you saw the streak going across the planet. I'm like,
but I wonder if somebody knows about that. You remember, I saw
on the
that
side
number.
Of the ship, it said 1873.
1873 or 1847 or something.
It was 1873.
I wonder why that's on there.
I don't know.
Who
knows why it says 1873 on the side on the secondary hull of the Enterprise?
See if 1873
maybe that's the whole number.
1701 is the whole number.
I tried to look it up, and it just came up with another ship, so it might.
Yeah, because those are the registry numbers.
No, not Enterprise. Just see, look up date 1873 and see what we get.
I'm not sure that was the right date, but we'll figure it out.
I'm pretty sure it was.
Yeah. So Spock has jettisoned the last fuel, did a burn, or jettisoned the fuel and burned ignited it to make a
signal flare.
Well, that's what they eventually determined. But Scotty,
everybody's upset.
Everybody's looking at it like, what are you doing?
They're dealing with the problem that we're going to burn up, or we cut our time because we knew we weren't coming back.
Mm-hmm.
We cut our time, and Scotty starts looking at Spock and he goes, "Oh, that was a great idea."
Yeah, single flare.
That was a great idea. And Spock's like, "It's too late. Enterprise is gone already."
I like Scotty. He's like, "Nice try, Mr. Spock."
He's like, "But you gambled."
Yeah.
It's like Scotty had respect for Spock at that moment. Moment.
Nothing.
He's a pure engineer. He's just like, he goes, I'll work the next problem, the next problem, the next problem.
See, what I expect out of Bowman is what I got out of McCoy. McCoy's like, yeah, we're gonna die, but at least you gambled. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because
more like
that's the difference between guys who have seen it and gals who have seen it. You know, even when it's starting to burn up, you see McCoy's back there and he's like,
McCoy's back there like this is just like the last time.
That's right, exactly.
Spock and Scotty are like, oh yeah, here we go again.
And then that's where Mimir goes, getting hot.
And Boma's just sitting in the back going, die hater. He's gonna die.
I thought he was gonna throw a punch.
And the smoke starts coming into the room, and they did use a little bit too much mist on our female.
So I gotta give you.
They should have been died of smoke inhalation.
We have to go into left field just for a minute. So, would you prefer to burn up in re-entry, or just pop the hatch?
I think I'm burning up.
It all depends on how fast burn up is, because in reality, burn up is going to be pretty quick.
Yeah.
It's not slowly being roasted over spit. And the ship's going to fail and you're going to go pop.
And you can change the orientation of the ship and make it even faster. If you really just go there.
So burn up is going to be pretty quick.
I think I'm burning up.
It's not like slow roasting.
You're going to burn? You're going to burn or you're going to pop the hatch?
I'm not popping the hatch.
Popping the hatch could theoretically take longer.
Hmm?
It's a few minutes either way, but...
Oh, I don't think so.
What do you say? You popping the hatch?
Yeah, I'd probably take a poll, people.
I'm not giving you an option.
No, at that point, it's not democracy.
Yeah,
it's like Spock on that ignition switch. If I'm going to do that,
there never was democracy.
I'm just saying. At that point, if I'm going to do that, yeah, I'm just going to reach over and go boop, and right. everybody's coming out. I'm sparing them the agony. I'm the surprise.
Right.
Boom. You know,
because instant decompression, you should become unconscious immediately.
Yeah. Okay.
So.
Yeah, the pressure.
The medical aspect kicks in.
Well, the pressure would cause you to black out.
Yeah.
Then you freeze.
Even without things that severe, trauma of a certain level automatically causes.
Well, it's like airline
down. Flights
at 35,000 feet. Yeah. So if you decompression, you're out.
Actually, And actually, since you're already in the atmosphere, when you pop the hatch, you just get the fire, and it's just all like fast.
Well, they're upper, but there no way there was minimal life oxygen mixture down on the surface. There'd be even less up there.
Well, no, I mean you got the friction at that point on the outer hull.
Right.
Essentially the outer hull's on fire, like they show.
Mm-hmm.
You pop the hatch.
Yeah.
You're getting all that. So
anyway,
6 in one hand, half a dozen in the other.
So they light the flare, and Mr. Sulu he's got a rocker switch in his hand, and he was rocking it. Did you see?
Yeah,
that?
he was rocking it.
He was rocking, and I always thought that was like he was shifting between different views
or scanner positions, maybe.
Yeah. And even though the sensors are working, or are starting to work, Sulu gets visual. And he sees the
green flare. But cannot identify for sure that it's the shuttlecraft. I thought that was strange.
Well, Kirk says, "Is it a meteor?" And he's like, "No, it's holding a straight line." And I'm like, "Do meteors curve?" I've never seen meteors curve.
Probably the trajectory in relation to the planet would be different. Where the meteor would probably be a slave to the planet's gravity, whereas the shuttle cut a path in spite of the planet's gravity.
Yeah, I don't know. We need to. Somebody's physics.
Yeah, if you're like major in science in the comments, tell us how that would work. Yeah. Sure, why not?
No, I don't want to hear from you.
yeah, we do. And continue the argument about what does space normal speed mean?
Yeah, that would be an interesting one. I would somewhat care what you thought.
Get you a subscriber that can do both.
No. So they lock on the transporter beams.
Well,
that's immediate what Kirk goes to. Get a transporter.
Swing around 180 degrees.
Yep, get a transporter lot.
I just found it kind of an interesting little thing that they never in this moment say, "Yeah, that's the shuttlecraft." They play it like they don't know, and even though he locks onto the transporter, and it comes off like we grabbed something. Until he gets the word.
It'd be funny if they go in the transporter room and there's
5 bears in there.
5 of the big bears with their spears.
Once again, Galaxy Quest. Yeah, they beam up the Garou, the rock monster.
Yeah, the way they play it, I just found that strange. It's like they don't know it's for sure it's the shuttlecraft when logically it should be. And they say, well, we beamed something. And there's this moment of tension and everybody's kind of holding their breath and they go, we got 5 people and they're good.
5 out of 7.
Alive and well. And then when they cut to Kirk, I thought Kirk was going, which 5?
No, he was just happy some of his people.
I'd be going like, the first thing I would have said,
who?
Is Commander Scott there?
No, yeah. No,
did we get to Commander Scott?
Commander Scott got to be there because the ship got off the ground.
That's right. That's true.
Ship got off the ground.
Right. Yep. You can make that assumption.
You can't waste Scotty going out and watching the monsters. You got one job, but get the ship fixed.
The new MOT T-shirt. Scotty gonna be all right. Scotty and Mears were coming back no matter what.
That's right.
Scotty and the Red will be all right.
Video. You might as well have said it. Got you right there. But
well, technically, Scotty has never died on any series, right?
No.
And is he ever referred to as being dead?
No. I think he does. He dies when Nomad kills him. Nomad kills him and he's brought back.
No.
Yes.
Yeah, no. But I'm saying like when they brought him back in the next gen.
No, he never died.
He never died. But Spock has died on screen. Kirk has died on screen.
Scotty's died on screen in the episodes Nomad.
Okay.
Nomad kills Scotty. And he's brought back.
Final death.
Oh, you mean permadeath?
Permadeath.
Well, he's gone and you never see him again. And that doesn't even happen. Oh, yeah, Spock later on.
Spock and Kirk die in the movies. Yeah. They do.
Okay. But in the episodes, the Nomad episode, Nomad kills Scotty.
Right.
Yeah.
And then Kirk has Nomad.
This unit ceases to function.
The Nomad unit repairs the Scotty unit.
Right.
Yeah. But he can't repair the Uhura unit. She has to relearn everything.
Broke her brain. Here it is, gentlemen.
And then we set up what starts to become the classic wrap up, the final thoughts.
Yeah. This one's a little bit.
It's forced.
That, and in the context of the story, I found it a bit like, man, that's cold, because the survivors are all gathered on the bridge,
except Bowman's not there.
Oh, know he ain't there. He's standing in front of a little door that has a white light all around it. His ass is in the brig.
Boma's down in the lab furthest from the bridge.
He's in the brig
with a petri dish.
When McCoy and Scotty jumped on, when he did that, he was on report.
Just for a second, it was the mirror universe. You come off the transporter. Scotty goes, and Galway breaks out the agonizer. Breaks out the agonizer.
You're agonizing, Mr. Bowman.
Bowman looks down and suddenly he's got one. He's like, wait a minute.
I will tell you though, we did Mirror, but I don't know. Did it make it? Have we aired it? We did. Okay, but nobody does the ag booth as well as Chekhov.
No.
Nobody does the ag booth as well as Chekhov.
Mr. Bowman is on petri dish cleaning duty.
He's
for 5 years.
So we're at the wrap up. Everybody's there but Boma.
But the survivors, except for Boma, are on the bridge, and everybody. What's funny about this scene is everybody very quietly, deliberately gathers around Spock, and everybody's got these big, stupid grins on their face.
But at the first, you have Spock talking to Scotty, and I think Captain Palpatine said something that the Scotty has more respect for Spock.
I was me.
Okay.
Scotty's looking at him like, you all right.
Then you have McCoy whispering in James T's ear. Like,
right. And Uhura and Mears already know what's up because they're sitting there like, ha,
How these come together, man?
Well, it was good for us. But all red.
It's party on the bridge.
All red,
We
fellas.
survived.
All red.
We survived.
None of that gold.
Party on the bridge.
But that's the problem. And then they very deliberately like gather around and tease Spock.
Well, Spock goes to his area.
But they gather,
then Kirk gets up and follows
and goes after him. Right?
He sees, right? He's like, I'm picking with this guy. I'm jabbing at him.
He's like, Mr. Spock,
explain this to me.
Didn't you act like a punk ass for a minute? Weren't you acting like a punk ass? And he's like, it was logical for me to act like a punk ass.
So Spock, tell me about those emotions you had. I did not have any emotions. You had some emotions.
No, he said it was time for me to have those emotions.
It was logical for me to have emotions in that moment.
No, it was illogical for me to do what was emotional, not necessarily to have emotions. Spock's whole point of view was it was logical for me to take this gamble.
Right.
Don't be afraid of the feelings, Captain. Don't be afraid of the feelings.
Fight the power.
And then Kirk finally says to him, he goes, you're a stubborn man.
And Spock goes, yes, I am.
Yes.
And everybody on the bridge by this point is gathered around, and the whole thing's just this hysterical moment.
This big theatrical laughing. People were throwing their heads back. And
Kirk's literally in his chair having a knee-slapping laugh. And all I'm thinking is, man, nobody liked Latimer and nobody liked Latimer and Gaetano anyway. I mean, these dudes just got smoked.
That's why.
Plus
that's
two
why
others.
Bowman wasn't on there because he'd be yelling
they're
at
not bridge
everybody.
people.
Plus two others.
Remember,
everybody's just like,
Remember, we already set up the precedent that you can lose a couple of members. You can lose and nobody in Starfleet gonna blink an eye.
But in some
turn in a report, these guys got speared through.
But in some episodes, there's a little bit of hey, there's a little bit of the gravity of it. In this episode, everybody's just like,
oh, they forgot me. They forgot me.
It's not even 24 hours.
The ooey of the week came back. My engineer came back.
Mears.
My private doctor came back. And my best friend came back. I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm good.
Lat who?
Yeah.
Gatan what?
And who's the Boma who?
Boma?
Oh, he's in the rig. I got back what I needed. That's what I said. Now, if they would have came back without the ooey of the week, James T might have been upset.
Mears was going to live no matter what because she was with Scotty and she never left Scotty. Mears is a genius. Mears never came off that shuttlecraft. Did you notice that?
That's true.
Mears was looking out that door like, ooh, look tough out there.
But in today's writing, so that we might have equality, we need at least 2 women to die.
No. In today's writing.
That's a damage.
In today's writing.
No, it's got to be fair.
No.
You got to get one of another.
No. In today's writing. Yeah, we forgot. In today's writing, Mears would have went two-fisted on the phasers, dived off the shuttlecraft, out the shuttlecraft hatch, and killed all the Care Bears.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true.
There would have been a scene where Mears took Spock behind the shuttle and basically said, "You better start doing what you need to do.
Right. You better get it together.
You better get it together, Mr. Spock, because if you don't, I will."
And the emotion Spock would have felt in the episode was lust. For
and then
Mears.
she would have cocked up a fresh one. She'd be like, "Don't make me."
And she would have took his phaser, and she'd have went and got Katano.
Yep.
And Katano would have been alive, and he would have been crying when she found him.
Yep. That's the truth. Oh my God, I can see it.
She still picked him up and carried him across her shoulders.
Did you see
while phasering Care Bears?
Did you see the Alien movie where the research scientist is running after the predator? It was a Predator movie. Research scientist is running after the predator.
Yeah.
And she grabs a military gun. I'm using this as an example of the writing of today.
Which Predator movie was that?
It was called The Predator.
Oh, whatever.
Man, I smell that. Why'd you bring that in here?
I'm using it as an example of the writing of.
You could have just said some writing is bad, but you done brought the smell into the room.
I wanted you to smell it.
It's terrible.
I wanted that cut cheese of the wasp into your nasal.
Man, I got to wrap this episode up. I guess I can get out this room now.
Galileo 7.
Galileo 7. Hey, obviously it was a reference to the crew, but the shuttlecraft number was 7 as well. Coincidence?
I think not.
Let us know in the comments.
Coincidence? No, it's creepy.
Another episode of Men on Trek.
Click like and subscribe.
Support your local Care Bear.
I hope you had fun.